Good evening, Valeriy Viktorovich.
Good evening.
Good evening, dear viewers, radio listeners and guests in the studio. Today is June 30th, 2019. The G20 summit ended yesterday. We received questions regarding it. They ask you to comment on the results of this summit as a whole and in particular to answer the question, actually, what kind of gathering is this G20?
You need to understand the following. Such forums as G20 and G7 are not supposed to solve governance tasks. No decisions, no arrangements are made there. This is a completely different format. One way or another, all of us face with informal communication in life. There are moments when we just meet friends on different occasions, like birthday parties, anniversaries, celebrations, or just meetings with friends. We understand that a phone conversation or any other long-distance modes of communication, online chat or email, will not replace this person-to-person interaction. A certain egregor appears between the two during the face-to-face communication. It erases many build-up errors accumulated somehow during the previous period of long-distance communication. From that standpoint, there are other social events, for example, meetings of amateur song clubs. People gather, live in tents, play guitar, singing lyric songs. They are united by a common cause. At the same time, politically, they may have completely different, opposite views. Some support the White Project of Russia, others advocate the Red Project. At the same time, they need unity with nature, they need spiritual unity, and therefore patriotism for one country. So imagine a picture. There is a world with many countries in it. There are leading countries with the strongest economies among them. The way they are directed, how they interact with each other, determines the situation in the world as a whole. So official heads of states and their representatives come together and begin to discuss common issues. Unofficial intellectual leaders have their own formats for discussions. The Bilderberg Club, the Club of Rome, the Committee of 300, and many others. The G20 is one of such formats. It directly relates to state governance.
Собираются люди и начинают обсуждать общие для всех вопросы.
Now imagine that some issue is being discussed between two countries on a personal level. However, the interaction of a third country with these countries will depend on the rapport of the leaders of these two countries. Therefore, watching the political leaders, how they present the issues in question, whether a meeting takes place as planned, in what mood are the two leaders. For example, let us take the last year's G20 in Buenos Aires. The meeting of Putin and Trump didn't happen. But it was clear for everybody that Trump wanted to meet Putin. Now, at the G20 in Osaka, they met. The cumulative information field is built from that kind of small details. Moreover, that information field lets a state governance align its actions with the previously directed actions of the other countries, for them to be coordinated and in line with the mainstream directed by upper governance. with the conceptual direction of world development. That is why all these leaders are brought together. You see, amateur song clubs have their meetings. It is important for them to have an easy talk, to make contact and discuss something. Other meetings are mandatory. If you are a member of the G20, then you cannot say no. You have to attend, otherwise your country will lose. In a club, there is just a personal interest, but here you should definitely be present and observe how all these relationships are built when the leaders of the countries get together. This is a very important element of governance. Therefore, it is not about any decision-making there. There is an alignment, a polishing of the very process of global governance.